The cold was endless. The frozen moon had no sunlight, no warmth, and no life. At least that's what the maps said. But Red, a human salvage pilot, trusted his gut more than maps. Right now his gut was screaming that something wasn't right. He had picked up a faint signal, weak, broken, almost like a whisper. His ship's system didn't recognize the language, but he caught a few sounds. Crying. A word repeated again and again. It sounded like please. Reed landed his small ship on the icy surface and stepped out into the cold. The wind hit him like knives, pulled his thick jacket tighter and activated the thermal beacon on his wrist, pointed toward a rocky hill. He followed it, step by step, through thick snow and sharp wind. He wasn't sure why he cared. Maybe because the voice sounded scared. Maybe because it sounded like a mother. After 30 minutes of walking, he reached a wide crack in the side of a rock hill. His thermal scanner beeped. There was heat inside, barely. A cave, he muttered. He stepped inside, flashlight in hand. The walls were frozen blue. His boots crunched on the icy floor. Deeper and deeper he walked, till his light caught something in the darkness. It was a figure. No two figures. A tall alien woman sat against the wall, arms wrapped tightly around a small child. They were both shivering. The woman's skin was pale blue, cracked from cold. Her clothes were thin, torn. The child looked unconscious, lips purple, barely breathing. Reed dropped to one knee. Hey, are you okay? Woman's eyes opened slowly. Her pupils were wide, glowing softly. She blinked as if seeing him for the first time. Then, in a raspy, broken voice, she whispered, "Don't touch her. They're watching us." Reed froze. "Who's watching you?" She coughed weakly, holding the child tighter. "They don't allow help. If they see you here, they will kill you too." Reed looked around, but saw no cameras, no machines. "I'm not leaving," he said, firm. "I'm human. I don't leave people to die." He pulled off his backpack and quickly set up a portable heater. It began to hum, spreading warmth in the small cave. The woman flinched at the sound but didn't move. Reed opened his ration pack and handed her a heat bar. "Eat. Give her some too." She stared at it like it was a gift from the stars. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Because someone needs to," Reed said simply. "What's your name?" "Sira," she whispered. "And she is Lena, my daughter." Reed looked at Lena. The girl looked no older than 6. Eyes stayed shut, body limp. He reached into his med kit and placed a warm patch on her chest. "You'll be all right, Lena," he said gently. "You're not alone anymore." Sira stared at him. "She hasn't spoken in days," she said.
"Ow."
She stopped crying. That scared me more.
Right?
He had seen things like this in war zones, children frozen in fear. He sat down next to them and checked the cave's signal strength. The storm outside was getting worse. His ship wouldn't lift in this wind. It had to wait. "You were sending a signal," he said. "That's how I found you." Sira nodded weakly. "A small beacon. I didn't think anyone would hear. No one answers the cries of my kind. We are outcasts." Reed looked at her with quiet strength. Well, someone just did. The heater hummed louder. Slowly, color returned to Sira's face. She fed a piece of the bar to Lena, who moved slightly, letting out a soft sigh. That's when Reed noticed something strange. The wall behind them, there were strange marks, almost like burn lines. And something metallic, half melted, was sticking out of the ice. He stood up and brushed snow away. It looked like a destroyed drone, but not human-made. Sleek, black alien tech. "What is this?" he asked. Sira's eyes widened with fear. "One of the Watchers," she said, "patrolled this moon, escaped from their transport. Crashed here weeks ago. They scan for life and erase it." Reed stepped back. If one of these was nearby, there might be more. If they detected the heater, the signal. Suddenly, outside the cave, a soft humming began. Low, rising. Mechanical Reed turned off the heater at once. Darkness returned. He grabbed his blaster and pressed against the cave wall. Sierra held Lena close, whispering prayers in a language he didn't know. The humming grew louder. Something was moving through the snow. The ground began to shake. Reed whispered, "Stay quiet. Don't move." Then outside, the cave red lights blinked through the snowstorm. Something was here. Something hunting. Asterisk. The red lights outside flickered like slow, blinking eyes. Reed didn't move. His finger rested gently on the trigger of his blaster. Sierra clutched her daughter, trying to keep Lena's breathing soft and quiet. The sound grew clearer, a deep mechanical hum, followed by sharp clicks, like metal claws tapping against frozen stone. Then silence, not a peaceful silence, a dangerous one. Reed motioned with his hand, "Stay still," and slowly crawled toward the cave entrance. His boots barely touched the ground. He peeked outside. The snow was swirling in wild patterns. Visibility was low. But there barely visible stood a long black machine with spider-like limbs. Scanning the area with thin red lasers, it was. Searching not for metal, not for heat, for life. Reed had seconds. He slid back inside, heart pounding. It's a Watcher drone, a big one. Probably picked up a trace of the heater. Sierra looked down at the small box, now silent and off. "If they catch you here, you'll be labeled a traitor," she whispered. Reed gave a sharp grin. "Let them try." He reached into his coat and pulled out a camo cloth woven with light-bending threads. He threw it over the heater, masking it from energy scans. Then he turned back to Sierra. "Tell me everything. No more half-truths. Who's hunting you?" Sierra hesitated, then nodded slowly. "We belong to a minor house in the Empire." The scientist declared my daughter tainted. Her DNA showed a deviation. Something rare. Something they couldn't control. Reed raised an eyebrow. "Tainted? She's just a kid." "She's different," Sierra whispered. "And in our world, different means dangerous." Reed looked at the child, sleeping weakly in her mother's arms. Her skin was pale and glowing faintly, like the stars themselves had touched her. Sierra continued. "They tried to take her. For tests, experiments. I fled with her on a stolen medical pod. But we crashed here." Reed ran a hand over his face. "And they send kill drones just to keep you from being rescued?" "They don't kill," Sierra said, her voice trembling. "They erase. No body, no records, no memory, just gone." Outside, the sound returned along, slow scraping. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. As the Watcher moved past the cave entrance, Reed turned toward Lena. Her lips were still dry. She needed water, warmth, rest. "I can't keep you alive here. We need to move." He opened his pack and handed Sierra a soft thermal wrap. "Wrap her in this." Sierra blinked at the cloth. It glowed with soft human textile-forming fibers, powered by body heat. "This is human design, but it's beautiful. We make ugly things." "Pretty good," Reed smirked. "Hold on, there's more." He took out a small syringe. "Protein boost. She won't like the sting, but it'll help." As he injected the child, Lena whimpered slightly, then shifted closer to her mother, her chest rising a bit smoother. "She's strong," Reed whispered. Sierra nodded, a single tear falling. "I thought she would die in my arms. She won't." Strange silence fell between them, gentler this time. Then suddenly the quiet was broken. Cracked, the rock outside split. Snow spilled into the entrance. Reed jumped to his feet, gun raised. A sharp metallic leg poked into the cave, followed by the soft red glow of a scanner. Sierra covered her daughter's face. Reed aimed ready to shoot. The drone paused. Its red light passed over them. It lingered. Then with a clicking sound, it pulled back and left. Just like that, Reed blinked. Why didn't it attack? Sierra stared at the entrance. I don't know. Reed moved to the mouth of the cave and watched the drone disappear into the snow. It hadn't missed them, it saw them, but chose not to strike. Why? Back inside, Sierra slowly stood up. Her knees were shaking, but she helped Reed gather supplies. Where is your ship? About 2 kilometers east? Past the ridge? In this cold, we won't survive it? We don't have a choice, Reed said. The storm's shifting. That drone may be circling back. Next time, it won't hesitate. Sierra looked down at Lena, then back at him. You should leave. Save yourself. Reed tightened the straps on his gear and said calmly, Not happening. I came for someone who cried for help, and I don't walk away from that. Sierra stared at him. You're not like the others. I'm human, he replied. We're stubborn like that. Outside, the wind howled again, louder this time, like something unnatural was moving with it. Reed turned to Sierra and held out his hand. She looked at it, then she took it. Snow slammed against Reed's face like frozen knives. He pushed forward, one step at a time, boots sinking into the thick white. The blizzard had grown angry, screaming winds, and swirling frost made it hard to see more than a few feet ahead, behind. Him, Sierra held Lena close against her chest, the thermal cloth wrapped tightly around the girl. Lena didn't speak, but her fingers twitched now and then. Life was returning. Slowly, the climb up the ridge was harder than Reed remembered. Each step felt heavier, the air thinner. The human pilot gritted his teeth and kept going. This way, he shouted back. Just over this hill. Sierra's voice was barely a whisper, lost in the storm. Are you sure your ship is still there? Reed didn't answer. He hoped it was. His ship had emergency defenses, but this storm could rip metal apart. Something worse than wind was in the air. Red could feel it. Eyes, something was watching. Then again, suddenly a shadow moved across the snow. Quick, silent, Reed turned, gun raised, heart pounding. But nothing was there. Just the wind. Right, they reached the top of the ridge. Reed pointed down there. In that valley, my ship's just beyond those ice columns. The valley below looked like a frozen graveyard. Tall ice spikes rose from the ground, jagged and sharp, like claws reaching from beneath. The path was narrow and silent, too silent. Sierra grabbed his arm. I don't like this. The watchers don't always make noise. Sometimes they just wait. Reed nodded grimly. That's what I'm worried about. He led the way. Down, blaster ready. As they walked between the columns, the ice around them shimmered. The wind dropped, then sound. It wasn't metal. It was a voice. A child's voice. Help, please. I'm cold. Reed stopped. Lena was asleep in Sierra's arms. She hadn't spoken since he met her, but the voice came again. Help me. This time from the left, then the right, then behind. Reed's eyes narrowed. That's not her, he muttered. Sierra's face was pale. They're trying to break your mind. Before Reed could reply, the ice beside him exploded. A black, spider-shaped drone burst through, eyes red, limbs sharp. It screeched a high, digital scream and leapt at him. Reed dove, rolled, and fired one shot to the eye. The drone spun mid-air and slammed into the ground, skidding, twitching. Wheat didn't rise again. Reed stood up, gun smoking. We have to run now. Rammed Sierra's arm and pulled her forward. They dashed through the icy forest as more shadows moved around them. Above, from the cliff walls, 3 red lights appeared. More drones, too many. Reed reached into his belt and threw a small orb behind them. Boom. The explosion shook the ice. The columns cracked and collapsed, slowing the machines behind them. They reached the edge of the clearing. Reed's ship, the Horizon Raven, stood waiting, covered in frost, but intact. He rushed to the hatch, pressed the code, and the door slid. Open with a cold hiss. In. Move. Sierra climbed in, cradling Lena. Reed jumped in last, slammed the hatch, and locked it. Alarms beeped. The ship detected movement outside. Defense mode, Reed shouted. The outer turrets activated. Twin cannons turned toward the drones. Now swarming at the edge of the clearing, the first drone charge blasted to pieces. A second tried to leap shredded midair. Inside, Sierra stared at the glowing screens. This is your ship? Reed nodded, breathing hard. She's ugly, but she bites. Lena stirred in her arms, whispering something for the first time. It was faint but clear, warm. Reed's eyes softened. He looked at her, then back at the screens. But something wasn't right. The ship's radar was picking up. Or signals, not just the drones. A new ship, bigger, coming from orbit. He stared in silence as the screen showed its leak, black and shaped like a knife. It hovered above the storm, and from it, a new signal emerged. Cold, sharp, direct. Surrender the fugitives. Or be destroyed. Reed stood slowly. He looked at Sierra, at Lena, at the cold screen, and then he did something. Unexpected. He smiled. The message echoed through the ship, sharp, mechanical, and without feeling. Surrender the fugitives, or to be destroyed inside. The horizon raven, everything fell silent. Sierra held her daughter tighter. Lena had opened her eyes but was too weak to speak. Her small hands clutched the thermal wrap like it was life itself. Reed stood at the console, staring at the glowing warning on the screen. Above them, the enemy ship hovered in orbit, waiting. He could feel it, powerful, fast, armed to the teeth. His little ship wasn't built for war, not against something that size. "Do you have weapons strong enough to fight it?" Sierra asked softly. Reed didn't turn around. "No, not even close." "Then they'll kill us," she said. He turned. "To face her, only if they catch us." Reed stepped to a storage hatch and pulled out 2 heavy batteries, tossing one onto the table. "The Raven still has 1 trick left, but we'll need to act fast." Sierra stood, her knees still shaking. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I made a choice the moment I entered that cave," Reed said. "I chose to save a life. I'm not backing down now." She stared at him, eyes filled with a mix of fear and something else, something that looked like hope. He nodded toward Lena. "I've got medical stimulants. If we inject her carefully, we can bring her back faster. But it'll burn through her energy. We'll need to get her somewhere warm fast." Sierra didn't hesitate. "Do it." Reed kneeled beside the little girl and gently injected the glowing blue fluid into her arm. Lena flinched, her tiny body twitching, but she didn't cry. Seconds passed. Then her eyes opened. She looked at him, not afraid, just tired. Reed gave her a small smile. "Hi there. You scared us a little." Lena blinked, then whispered, "Are you the warm man?" Reed laughed softly. "I guess I am." Sierra knelt beside them, hugging Lena close, her face buried in her daughter's hair. "You're strong," she whispered. "You're stronger than me." Outside, alarms began to beep again. The enemy ship was descending. They weren't bluffing. Reed ran to the cockpit and powered up the ship. "Hold on, we're taking off." The engines roared to life. Ice cracked beneath them as the Raven lifted. From the frozen ground, steam pouring from its sides as they rose. The enemy ship opened its hangars, releasing 6 black drones, each one locked onto their ship like hungry wolves. Sierra sat strapped in, holding Lena tight. "We can't outrun them," she said. "We don't need to," Reed replied. He flipped open a hidden panel beside the pilot's seat, a red button glowing behind a glass cover. Sierra leaned forward. "What is that, old Terran tech?" Reed grinned. "Plasma flare core. It heats the ship's engine beyond what's safe. Gives us 1 massive burst of speed." "What's the catch?" Reed smirked. "If it doesn't work, we explode." Sierra's face went pale. "That's not a good catch." Reed laughed. "Welcome to human engineering." The drones closed in, lasers locking onto their heat signature. Reed gave a deep breath, then slammed his fist on the button. The ship roared like a beast. A blinding blue light burst from the engines. The Raven shot forward so fast it left a shockwave behind. The drones tried to follow but couldn't handle the heat trail. 2 exploded instantly. The rest spun out of control. Reed laughed, eyes wild. "We're flying through hell and they can't keep up." But the ship began to tremble. The walls shook. Alarms screamed. "Too much heat," Sierra shouted. Reed gritted his teeth. "Just a few seconds more?" Lena reached out weakly and touched his arm. "I trust you." And in that tiny, broken voice, something changed in him. He pushed the throttle to max. A final blast sent them breaking through the atmosphere into open space. The Raven spun once, then steady damaged. But alive silence returned. The stars outside looked peaceful now. Reed leaned back in his seat, sweat on his brow. "We made it," he said. Sarah looked at him with disbelief. "You're insane." I smiled. "I've been called worse." Then the screen blinked again. Another signal, but this one was different. A Terran beacon, a human patrol ship, was nearby. The Horizon Raven floated in space, silent, scarred, and steaming from the engine burst inside. The air was filled with sharp smells, burnt wiring, fried circuits, and melting frost. The ship groaned softly, like it was in pain. Reed leaned forward in the pilot's chair, staring at the screen. A Terran patrol beacon blinked in the corner. Human signal. It's a friendly code, but it wasn't moving. Sarah sat quietly beside him, holding Lena, whose head rested against her chest. The child's eyes were closed again, but her breathing was strong now, steady. "You said a patrol ship," Sarah whispered. "Does that help?" Reed didn't answer right away. He zoomed in on the signal. The patrol ship was hovering near a small moon, unmoving. Something wasn't right. He activated the COM. "Horizon Raven, 2 Terran Patrol Unit 5. Kilo. Do you copy?" No response. He tried again. Nothing. Syra looked at him. Be there waiting. Reed's eyes narrowed. Maybe they've been shut down. He tapped on the controls, checking the distance. "We're 3 clicks out. I'm going to get us closer." As the ship limped forward, sparks flew from the ceiling. Reed reached up and tapped the panel. "You okay, girl?" he said softly to the ship. "Hold together for me." It drifted through the black, slowly approaching the patrol craft. It was larger than the Raven's standard Terran design. White hull, 2 forward cannons, 4 engine pods, but its lights were off. Reed turned to Sarah. No response, no movement. "That ship's dead. Dead," she repeated. "Shut down. Maybe ambushed. Maybe worse." He checked long-range scans. His heart sank. More drones. Dozens of red dots lit up the screen, spreading through. "It's the nearby asteroid field. Fast, organized. They're hunting again," Reed muttered. "And now we're stuck between a graveyard and a net." He slammed his fist on the panel. Sarah stood. "Can't fight that many." "No," Reed said. "But maybe we don't have to." He pointed to the Terran ship. "If its power core is still intact, we might be able to jumpstart this ship, get better weapons, a shield wall, maybe even a distress pulse." "You mean board it?" "Yeah. You and Lena stay. Here. Lock the hatch." "If I don't come back?" She grabbed his wrist. "No." Reed looked at her, surprised. "You didn't leave us in that cave. I won't let you walk into danger alone." Reed stared at her a long moment, then slowly nodded. 10 minutes later, they suited up. Reed handed her a small blaster. "Do you ever use one of these?" Sarah held it awkwardly. "No, but I'm a fast learner." They floated from the Raven and Eva suits, crossing the quiet space between ships. The Terran vessel looked peaceful, like a sleeping giant. They entered through the maintenance airlock. The inside was cold. Dark. Reed activated his shoulder light. "Stay close," he said. They moved through narrow halls. Empty. No crew. No signs of struggle then. Footsteps. Not theirs. Reed spun around, gun raised. Nothing. Sir pressed her back to his. "I hear it too." A soft sound echoed through the metal corridor. Tick, tick, tick. Then it stopped. They reached the control deck. Reed knelt beside the power core access panel. "Still here? Intact? I think I can wake it." As he connected wires, Sarah stood guard, blaster shaking in her hand. Suddenly a thud from the hallway. Then another. Sarah pointed the weapon. Heart pounding. A figure appeared in the doorway, but it wasn't a drone. It was a human, a Terran Marine, wounded, limping, visor cracked. He fell to his knees. "Help!" he gasped. Sir rushed to him. Reed turned, stunned. "He's alive." The Marine whispered, "We were attacked, ambushed. They hacked the ship's systems. We lost control. I shut everything down so they couldn't use it." "Who's they?" Reed asked. The Marine shook his head. "Not just drones. Something else. Something smarter. Then Skria. Loud metal screech echoed through the hole. Reed looked at Sierra. They found us. He turned back to the core, finished the wiring, and flipped the switch. The ship hummed back to life. Lights turned on. Weapons powered. Shields activated. The Terran patrol ship was awake again. Reed grabbed the comms. All human ships. This is Horizon Raven. Enemy drones inbound. Power restored. We are not alone. Repeat. We are not alone. The lights on the console turned green. Weapons were ready, but the enemy was already here. And they weren't just hunting. They were testing. Asterisk warning lights turned red. The patrol ship's sensors screamed. Multiple incoming threats. Fast, coordinated. Reed didn't waste time. Get Lena, we're going back to the Raven, shouted, gripping the nearest handle. As the floor vibrated under their boots, Sierra nodded, quickly helping the wounded Marine up. He groaned in pain but pushed forward. She wrapped his arm around her shoulders. We moved together, she said firmly. Reed led them through the dim corridors. Overhead, metal thumped and bent. Something was crawling on the hull. The ship was being watched. Surrounded. How did they find us this fast? Reed muttered. The Marine coughed. They don't search like machines. They think like predators. Reed's eyes narrowed. That explained the strange behavior. The drone swarm wasn't just patrolling. It was hunting with purpose. They reached the airlock. Reed sealed the Terran ship behind them and launched the EVA tether. The Raven floated just a few meters away, but space felt endless now. The enemy was getting closer. Red lights appeared across the black. Not 6. Not 10 more. They're locking on, Sierra gasped. Reed didn't speak. He activated the tether propulsion and fired it, pulling them across the space bridge fast, just as they reached the Raven's hatch. A drone lunged from the shadows. It slammed into the tether line, knocking Sarah loose. She spun helplessly, floating toward open space. Sarah, Reed shouted. He jumped, no hesitation. He slammed his boots into the drone midair, firing point blank into its eye. It sparked, spiraled, and burst into flame. The recoil pushed him back, but not before he caught Sierra's hand. He grunted, pulling her in close. You okay? She nodded, breathless. You didn't have to, yes, he said firmly. Did? They returned to the Raven, the hatch ceiling behind them. Inside, Lena sat curled in a blanket, eyes wide. Reed rushed to the cockpit, flipping switches. Shields on, engines live. We don't outrun them, we punch through. Sierra laid the Marine gently in a seat. Can we even escape? Maybe not, Reed said, but we can make them regret trying. Outside, the swarm tightened. The red lights moved in circular patterns, strategic, controlled. These weren't normal drones. Reed looked at the radar. They're hurting us. Sierra stood beside him. Why? He zoomed in on the orbital map and froze. A second alien ship had appeared, larger, angular, and glowing with pulsing light. Not a transport, not a warship. Something worse. What is that? Sierra asked. Reed swallowed hard. A control vessel. Maybe even a hive mind. That's why they're acting smarter. That thing's directing them. Lena crawled forward, pulling at Reed's sleeve. What? They want me, she whispered. Both adults turned toward her. Lena's eyes shimmered faintly more than before. Her voice was soft, but steady. They're afraid of what I carry. What do you mean? Sierra asked, shaking. Lena placed her hand against the console and the screen flickered. Reed's eyes widened. She's interfacing with the system, he said. Without a link, Lena whispered again. They called me tainted, but I feel them. Their network. Their fear. Reed stepped back. She's not just different, she's connected. Suddenly, the drones paused. All at once. Just floating. Watching what's happening. Sierra gasped. They don't know what to do, Reed said slowly. She's inside their signal. Lena's hand trembled. I can hold them for a little, but it hurts. No, Sierra said. You've done enough. Reed moved fast. If she's giving us a window, I'm taking it. He pushed the engines to max. The Raven's frame shook, struggling but ready. The drones still hovered, frozen in red light. One shot, Reed whispered. We either break through, he hit the thrusters, or die trying. The Raven launched. It tore through the net of drones before they could recover. One turned to strikes. Sierra fired the blaster through the window. It exploded in pieces. More followed, but too late. Reed twisted the controls, dodging wreckage and ice. The control vessel pulsed, trying to regain command. Inside, Lena screamed. Her nose bled.
Ah!
She collapsed into Sierra's arms. Hold on. Reed shouted. The ship roared, then dashed light. They broke free of the swarm. Silence. Space opened around them, clear and wide. The control ship disappeared from sensors. Reed leaned back, chest heaving. We made it. But Lena didn't move. Sierra shook. Her, Lena, sweetheart. The little girl stirred. Her voice was faint. I stopped them. For now. Reed turned the ship toward a human colony beacon nearby. We're getting you to safety, he said. They're not taking you. Not. Today, not ever. Outside. The stars shone quietly again, but in the distance, something watched. The Horizon Raven drifted through open space, quiet, scarred, and full of life. Reed sat at the controls, his knuckles white on the yoke. The autopilot hummed softly as the ship followed the emergency beacon toward the nearest human colony. Outpost Hallia 9, just 30 minutes away. Behind him, Sierra sat on the floor, cradling Lena in her lap. The little girl was breathing, but barely. Her skin flickered with a pale blue light, glowing softly under her closed eyes. She's holding on, Sierra whispered. She's weak. Reed turned from the screen. Medical staff is on standby. They'll help her. We just need to get there. Sierra nodded, brushing hair from Lena's face. She fought harder than anyone I've ever known. Reed's voice softened. She's not just strong. She's something new. The ship shuddered slightly. Sierra looked up. Is that turbulence? No, Reed said, staring out the window. A flash of dark metal passed in front of them. Then another. Reed's heart sank. Drones. 2 of them. He activated the scanners. More followed. 8, 12, 20. Silent. Movie. Not attacking. Just watching. Then came the signal, same cold voice as before. You are carrying unauthorized biological data. Surrender the subject. Final warning. Reed leaned forward, opened the CUM, and pressed the button. His voice was calm but full of fire. You had your chance. Shh. She's under Terran protection now. You want Hercum and burn for it? Sierra looked at him. We can't fight them again. Reed nodded. We won't have to. Just then, the CUM panel lit up with a new frequency. A human voice crackled through. Horizon Raven. This is Captain Juno of the TSS Vanguard. You are not alone. Stand by. Reed's eyes widened. They heard our distress call. A massive human warship uncloaked beside them, gray, armed and glowing with blue shield walls. Behind it, 3 smaller Terran cruisers appeared. Sierra gasped. You brought an army? No, Reed said, smiling. She did. Suddenly Lena opened her eyes. She sat up slowly in her mother's lap. Her voice was clearer than before. They're still inside the network, she said quietly. But now, I can reach further. Reed turned toward her. Lena, what are you doing? She reached out, palm glowing faintly, and touched the ship's main console. The lights dimmed, and then every screen changed. Alien symbols appeared, then shifted into Terran code. And then something new. A mix of both, language never seen before. Reed watched in awe as the ship's weapons recalibrated. Shields adjusted. Systems upgraded themselves using foreign data. She's rewriting the system. Sierra whispered. No, Reed said. She's evolving it. Outside, the alien drones began to back away uncertain. Their movements were broken, slower as if confused. The Cums came alive again this time, panicked. Unknown interference. Systems failing. Memory link unstable, Reed understood. She's infecting their hive. She's winning, Sierra breathed. No, Lena said softly. I'm showing them. Showing them what? Her mother asked that humans protect, she said. Even when afraid. Even when it's easier to run. The lead alien ship pulsed once more, and fired a warning shot, a blinding beam of orange light at mist. Suddenly, the Vanguard responded, firing 2 plasma torpedoes that struck the enemy ship's engines. Explosions rippled across the hull. The alien vessel retreated. The rest of the drones scattered like frightened insects. Reed slumped into his seat, stunned. They're running, because they saw something they didn't understand, Sierra said. They saw her, Reed said quietly. Lena leaned back, exhausted. Her glow faded, but her smile remained. They won't forget us, she whispered. Reed smiled. Good. Let them remember. The human fleet surrounded the Raven, escorting them gently toward Helia 9. Medical ships moved alongside, and a call came through. Docking bay is prepped. Medics standing by. Welcome home, Horizon Raven. Sierra held her daughter close. I don't know how to thank you, she said to Reed. You don't have to, he said. Just stay free. Keep her safe. Sierra reached for his hand. He took it. They stood there in silence, stars all around them. And though the war wasn't over, something had changed. A girl once marked as tainted had stopped a fleet. A mother once left to freeze now stood under the flag of a new future. And a human, just one man, had lit the fire that others would follow, because sometimes all it takes is one person to say no, not today.